Is this thing on? Testing. Is this thing on? Yes, it's on. Yes, it's on. Another Friday and it's on. It's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, y'all. Another opportunity for some sports, business, and entertainment. Welcome to the show that keeps it rough, rugged, and raw. A little late this morning, but never late. Always on time because we're going to deliver yet again. Today's episode, the title is Uneven Bars. And this episode is going to be pretty provocative, so make sure that you strap on your seatbelt. But Uneven Bars will feature Simone Biles and the Olympics. That'll get center attention because we knew Simone Biles would be the center of attention, but no one thought that Simone Biles would be the topic du jour because of the fact that she's not competing in this Olympics. She was perceived to be the odds-on favorite, the darling and queen and the face of all U.S. Olympics this year, the greatest of all times. And the topics that we are discussing about her is that she is not competing. This episode will deal with the uneven bars, which are the expectations of fans versus the mental health of athletes. But also in uneven bars, we're going to talk about the different standards of excellence and acceptance and how we embrace different athletes, the GOATs, one GOAT versus the other. Trust me, we certainly won't agree. Absolutely won't agree. So let's go ahead and argue. Debate. It's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. Let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. Good morning. Happy Friday morning. You know what it is. It's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hawk, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, here in the building with two very amazing individuals. First, you got the Big Flow Show. What's up?
What's good, America? What's good?
And you got ETP Ellis, the producer. What's up?
What's good, the rest of the world?
That's right, man.
States,
it is.
Man. We stand as the United States today.
I know, America? Man. It is the Olympics. That's why he went all patriotic on us. But there's this whole, there's this whole cloud around patriotism this week, and it has been center stage. Simone Biles, we knew was going to be the center of attention when it came to the Olympics, but it's now become the center of attention because what she's not doing. She is not competing. Thus far, she did not compete yesterday. I don't know what she's going to do with the individual events, but today's episode is uneven bars. And the play on that uneven bars is that we've seen this incongruent response to Simone Biles. You like that incongruent? Yeah.
How you did that?
Every once in a while, SAT
you got to work those words in from fifth grade.
Spelling bee champs over here.
Spelling bee champs. We got to dive in, y'all. I mean, look, we can't avoid the topic. Everyone has discussed it. When we are figuring out what we want to discuss, sometimes the stories write themselves. And Simone Biles, who has been celebrated as maybe the most decorated athlete ever, debatable. We had planned to be celebrating her for the most decorated Olympic athlete ever. She has the skill set such that the judging itself has been altered because of Simone Biles. The last thing I thought we were going to be talking about in this week, when we are full steam ahead, the Olympics, normally, I believe the Olympics don't start till track, which happened last night, but gymnastics has center stage for a while. And we thought that Simone Biles, we would be talking about her for very different reasons. I don't know what other way to tee it up other than let's go, man. I mean, what do you guys think about it in general? And then we've got to get into the concept of uneven bars when it comes to the treatment. What do we expect from our athletes? It seems like a very polarizing topic. Some have celebrated her as the marquee figure, at least for this week, as owning her mental health and controlling it, making sure that she's in control of that and making a very good decision. And some have, unfortunately, they vilified her for not being patriotic. They've told her to suck it up, get it together. And we can dive into that briefly, and then we'll get to the second part of it. I don't know where either one of you stand with her decision to not compete, but let's get into it. What do you think?
I mean, if I get started, I look at it and I thought about it, I go back and forth. But at the end of the day, I hope if she's got some mental health issues that she can get to the bottom of them. You know what I mean? I don't take those things lightly. I deal with anxiety issues myself, so I know that those things can kind of be debilitating and people really don't understand why. However,
you took a pause and said, however. I'm listening now. However,
I'm getting ready for the jabs.
What you about to you said, however. That was a semicolon, however.
Tag me in your comments when you say this. But however, we call her the GOAT, and she calls herself the GOAT. Right? When you saw those little goat, what she bedazzled her joint with the goat on there, you embrace that, right? That's asking for the smoke. I want the smoke. Bring it to me. I am the GOAT. I'm the GOAT. So if you calling yourself the GOAT and you're embracing all the pressure and you're taking all that limelight and you're doing all the different things of that nature, then I get, you put yourself in a situation where you are going to have stress. You're going to have pressure. Everyone has stress and pressure. That's how we measure our champions and our great ones. How do they deal with the stress and the pressure? She folded. She said, I can't do it. I'm not coming out. Now, we've had conversations about whether she's got some sort of thing where she's got a disconnect between her brain and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm having a hard time with that because it's not like she jumped in the air and just like landed on her back. I mean, she still landed on her feet. She didn't even fall. She just kind of messed up her thing. She choked, man. She missed a free throw. She airballed a free throw. She did whatever. And opposed to coming back out, she said she didn't want to do it. So I'm not going to kill the girl. I'm going to still say, hey, listen, you know what? At one point you were the greatest of all time, but we can't give her just the pass. We had to hold her to the same standard that we would hold LeBron to. If he said, I'm not going to play in these games anymore because mentally I'm not here. We had to hold her to the same standard that we just had some boxing dude who says, no mas, I'm not coming back out because I just don't feel it tonight.
Good use of no mas. I like that one.
You can't claim GOAT. You can't own it, right? Mm-hmm. Why do people hit LeBron? Because he calls himself King James, right? Once you start doing it to yourself, everybody else doing it is one thing. But once you start owning it and you start doing it, that bravado, you say, it's me, give me the smoke. And then all of a sudden the smoke comes, the fire comes, and you can't do it. I can't give her a pass just because she's Haitian.
Everybody Haitian, man. We got
it's Haitian though, for real.
Everybody, you gonna claim everybody. ETP, what you got for me, man? I know it's been a week of conversation that we have not seen any sports analysts, any show not deal with this topic. And when you know how we do it on the Ball Hog Sports Talk. We get rough, rugged, and raw, but what we don't want to do is be a duplicate of what the other discussion is. So what's your angle that you think might be a little different than what others have said this week?
Yeah, so I think the most challenging part of this is that mental health becomes this very broad definition, right? When it's a physical injury, you don't say somebody just is having physical health issues, right? It's an ankle, it's a shoulder, it's some other injury. And I think when we talk about mental health, people automatically she was dismissed very early where, oh, you're just not up for the moment. You're not, you choked or you're emotionally unstable. And what I've learned personally just through this week, and I'm actually really surprised that it hasn't been discussed more in the world or outside the world of gymnastics is, literally her mind is not able to convince her body to do the things that it needs to do. So I look at it a little bit differently than
what's that phenomenon? What's that phenomenon called? You mentioned it.
Yeah,
to me.
so it's a really technical term. It's called the twisties. So it
That's
sounds
what I
like
call
fun.
my mustache sometimes. The twisties.
Right.
All right. So, but it's a real term. This is a real term.
Yeah. So real term, and basically the mind isn't able to have that spatial awareness where it puts a gymnast and also divers at risk that they don't know where they are in the air and they may land on a body part or.
So basically, she's me. She just became me.
Yeah, she just became more immortal. The question is
like regular folks,
right?
Jump up and land on their head.
But to that point, I mean, maybe it is a matter of, they say that it's driven by high stress and high pressure, so maybe she isn't able to process the big stage. But she's been here before. She's been in the Olympics. She's won gold medals. This year is different. She's the face of the country for the next couple of weeks, and maybe that is what affected her, but I don't necessarily take it from the perspective that she's weak. I mean, she's done this before. She's won all the gold medals. She's doing things that are undefined by the sport, and she's being penalized for even taking the sport beyond what it's even capable of today. So she's the only person in the world that can do what she does. And so when she has to tap out, I have to give her the benefit of the doubt and have to assume that it's really extreme. And based on what I've been learning about this concept of the twisties, it's not just folding in the playoffs, missing a couple of free throws. It's putting your body at risk. And they're basically I was reading something, they said it's like diving into a pool with no water. That's what they do on a regular basis. And so if your mind isn't allowing you to operate and function to perform those tasks, then I can't imagine trying to move forward. And it's empowering, but at the same time, it does throw into question, is there something deficient in terms of her capability? But it seems to be a very common thing in gymnastics that I wouldn't dismiss as a condition.
I mean, you had to Google it and you had to go on the dark web, Arachneck,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know if y'all watched that show. But anyway, so you had to go on the dark web to find it, because I've never heard of any in the history. I've been watching gymnastics and the Olympics forever, and you never ever heard of them start doing it before. So obviously people have rare situations that happen. One thing I did say, I saw her in an interview and she was saying things are different because when she first was doing it, she was so young, she ain't know any better. So now she's like, now that I'm older, I understand how I could get hurt, and I think about that and do whatever. So she is kind of like getting into her own head. I just don't want to. I think we're too quick to make it a clinical diagnosis. Something's wrong with her. Look, man, I love Simone Biles, right? She's great. She's a great story. She did great in the Olympics, whatever. She still had a period where she was the greatest of all time, and she's accomplished things no one else has accomplished. She's all great. Well, I mean, it is what it is, man. I think I'm a decent person, but when I mess up, y'all got to tell me I messed up. Hey, Reg, you had a bad show. You had to do whatever. I can't just give you this. Now, if somebody comes out and tells me later, okay, fine, it's something clinical, but I kind of feel like we just kind of grasping, because it's not like she's just jumping in the air and just looks completely crazy. She just took an extra step. She landed really hard in this one vault. You know what I mean? Like, are you really twisties? And you got the twisties, but you still landing on your feet?
Well, she did post some video yesterday where she wasn't able to land on her feet. And this was in a a padded gym where she was doing the uneven bars. So, yeah, I mean,
I don't know, though, Ellis, that when she posted that, my theory is this: if you explaining, you losing. And her posting that was in response to the backlash she's gotten. I love Simone Biles too, and I will take a page out of Big Flo's book and put a very emphasized however. Right here. Love Simone Biles. However, when it comes to the greatest of all time, the GOAT discussion is strict liability. We have a strict liability approach to most of our greats, or I would say all of our greats. And strict liability, using that legal term, means that it's an automatic responsibility. If you don't deliver when the entire world, the entire team, we'll start with the entire team is depending on you. If you don't deliver, there's a strict liability standard when it comes to our GOATs. And that's why when LeBron James shuns the last shot, I don't care if it's the right basketball play. Strict liability says that if somebody else misses that shot, we still gonna blame LeBron James. strict liability with our GOATs applies. And I love Simone Biles too. And we should have the conversation about mental health. We should have the conversation, the revelation about the twisties. But if the pressure of the moment created that, now I see one of our live listeners, and it's the perfect time to say it. We ask you every week, humbly, please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and introduce them to the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. But we have live listeners, and one of our live listeners is telling me that this was the first time she had to compete off her medication. I've not verified that, but if that's the case, if that led to the high stress, I get it. But even in a high stress situation, right, because mental health, and I put it in air quotes because as Big Flo says, let's not get too clinical. In that moment, it's tough for me to, first of all, I'm not trained to spot mental health and diagnose it. So I admit that I'm not trained to do that. But when I think of mental health, I also think of when that baseball player is in a hitting slump. That's a form of mental health issues, right? When that wide receiver all of a sudden can't catch the ball come across the middle because he can't focus. That's a form of mental health issues because the anxiety of that moment changes your ability to focus. So I think it's a real thing. And granted, her flipping in the air and the potential injury there too is different than most sports. But in my example of the wide receiver going across the middle, if you can't focus, somebody's going to take your head off. There's a danger inherent in that. But when it comes to the GOATs, we normally have a strict liability approach to how we gauge them and how we judge them in the biggest moments. This is as big of a moment as there is. And she's left me dealing with sort of how to grapple with, yes, when it comes to your mental health, that's far more important than a gold medal.
Right.
But at the same time, as a sports fan, as someone that does this podcast and we have to analyze athletes, it doesn't mean you're exempt from the analysis thereafter.
For sure.
And that's the part where I've noticed that on social media, everyone's protecting her. And the uneven bars that I want to get to, ironically, is not about her mental health, because she is the absolute right and responsibility to protect her mental health and protect her physical health. Because if she had the twisties, something bad and tragic could have happened. But the uneven bars I really want to get into is just the response. Because women have come out, not only women and men, but largely, just at least on my social media feed, I've seen women protect that decision like no other. They are fighting for that decision. Whereas I don't see that with men. Maybe we just don't really vibe with each other like that. But when it comes to LeBron James, specifically the King, when he misses that shot, we talk about it. Kevin Durant, we talk about the Greek Freak when he was missing them free throws. We talk about him. You can go down a laundry list of guys, Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons after the playoffs, Donovan McNabb throwing up in the Super Bowl. We talk about him. Chris Webber calling that timeout in a high-pressure situation. We laugh about him. We talk about him. So the way that women have come out and support and protect it, I was about to say somebody else, but the same thing. I almost said Naomi Osaka. Same thing, though.
She Haitian too.
She Haitian too. But the way they protected Simone Biles, Sha'Carri Richardson, I'm vibing with it. And my question is, you sort of like this, we hear in sports a lot of times in sports.
Great example too. You're right.
Act like a girl. Don't act like a girl.
A pass if somebody got caught smoking, a dude got caught smoking weed before that. Nobody's giving them a pass about their mama died.
We're not. Someone said Nick Anderson. I love it. And maybe the thing is, we don't need to apply the standard to Simone Biles. Maybe we need to change the standard for the other greats.
Yeah. Because
the whole concept of act like a girl, I love what the women are doing in supporting Simone Biles. Maybe we all need to sort of, air quote, act like a girl when it comes to our greats, because they're all human. They're all susceptible of a moment where the pressure is too high. The anxiety is too deep, and they want to get away from that shot. The Euro Cup, there were a lot of veteran players that shot away from that 19-year-old kid shot that PK because there were other players that didn't want that spotlight. They did not want that smoke. And they took heat for it. So the way women have responded. Because we put a lot of emphasis on toxic masculinity when it comes to sports. Maybe we need to be celebrating what I want to call more of a human, more feminine approach, because women are supporting Simone Biles. Maybe we need to just infuse that more in how we cover sports. I don't know what you guys think, but something's different here.
I mean, like we can't just dump these people down the drain. Like again, I think Simone Biles has been a great role. Just so many great things you could say about her. But in this situation, you cannot just give her a pass. Part of being the greatest in a sport is the pressure. I couldn't imagine ever being on that 1 inch or whatever 3-inch beam and doing a backflip. And I definitely couldn't imagine doing it with the whole world watching. I mean, that's crazy. That's why I don't do it, right? I'm not great like that, right?
There's other reasons why you don't do it too, but I get what you're saying.
Can we just let my little flow go?
My bad, big flow.
But you know what I'm saying? Like the reason why we're so excited and we celebrate athletes so much and what they do is because these people go under amazing pressure and they had to do these things and rise to the occasion. You know, look at guys like Westbrook. You know, they say he's great until the playoffs, right? Why? Maybe the pressure of the playoffs gets to him. Every single athlete that is out there has to deal with the high pressure situations, and the Michael Jordans, the Tiger Woods of the world, the ones that we hold at the highest, the Tom Brady's of the world, the highest are the ones that when the tough is gone, your back is against the wall, they say, I want the ball, I want to go do it. Simone she just says she's not that person. She's not to do it. But we can't just go and coddle. We have to treat her the same way. Let's respect her as the athlete that she is and treat her like that. You want the smoke, you call yourself the GOAT, we got to treat you as the GOAT. And let's not say the whole act like a girl stuff, because you know what? Hats off to the girls. Was it Suni is her last name? They won the
Suni Lee.
All this stuff going along. She was not supposed to be there. She's not supposed to be doing this. She stepped up.
Great story too. Immigrant family. Dad got paralyzed in an accident 2 years ago. Stuff, right? Great story.
And I hate the fact that her success is overshadowed by what's going on with Simone. I feel like, man, let's take a pause and let's celebrate this young lady. Was she the same one that had to step in for the all-around, or was that the other girl?
No, she was in the.
That was like the Hispanic.
Yeah,
girl,
she wasn't the alternate.
So the alternate. I mean, think about. Let's take a moment to celebrate her, since we're talking about girls and acting like a girl.
And they train together. Her and Simone Biles train together. But come on now, Big Flo. Fair, but I don't. Yes, celebrate the accomplishments of Suni Lee, but in the example that I gave, LeBron James, when LeBron James passes up that shot and somebody else makes the game-winning shot, that's a footnote. We are going to talk about LeBron James shying away from that shot. And that is the response, sort of like the benefit and the burden of a platform. Her platform is so much larger than everybody else. You're right. The entire world was watching the Olympics for Simone Biles. And my man, what's up, Juka, says, and I'm going to read it, because I think it'll help us navigate through this. He says, respectfully, I disagree. She's already proven she's the absolute best gymnast to have ever existed. I agree. So much so the Olympic organization tried to artificially limit her points so her competitors could compete. I agree. She may have a doubt about it landing, but the real reason why she dropped out was about politics. She basically saying, F y'all, which given the situation, she has an absolute right to. I'm not taking away her right. I don't know if I take that approach. I was with him. I don't necessarily think it was political. Yeah. It seemed like in that moment, she was really distraught about the twisties. But her being distraught about the twisties isn't something that just fell out the sky. It was created by the pressure of the moment. And that's why I agree with everything he said. But I also think that if you are that great, undeniably the best gymnast that have ever lived, some have argued maybe the best athlete that ever lived, then you've got to undergo the same strict liability, scrutiny, and analysis and criticism in some regards with some people that others do. Or we got to change the standard for everybody else.
Yeah.
Because I don't like they're not calling her, they're calling her unpatriotic. She wasn't a good teammate. That's stupid. Let's not give that people. That's how stupid people are. That's the same stupidity that we have in basketball.
But let's put it.
Go ahead.
Let's put it in context, right? Like so my opinion, and I am one that would argue she's the greatest athlete ever of all athletes. But that aside, I think there's layers to this, because she is being celebrated, but she's also being condemned, right? So I think that protection and that respect is important. Like her decision should be respected. She's the greatest gymnast that's ever gotten on a mat, on uneven bars, anything. And so
far,
she can't,
because I know Big Flo's considering it. So far,
yeah,
let's make sure
right.
we qualify. So far, she's the best. Yeah,
representing Haiti in 2024.
That's what she needed to do.
Yeah, but based on that, right? Like she's earned the right to know and say when she doesn't want to go. The difference in why I think there is a lot of people celebrating this is because gymnastics is a sport that is primarily made up, at least on the female side, not so much on the male side, but it's very young girls. They are silenced. They are pressured into doing things with these older coaches. Like it's a culture that is not very empowering to these athletes to make decisions for their safety, for their health, for what's best for them. And so her taking that stance in a very traditional environment, there's something to be said about it now. But to your point, it does not absolve her from critique in terms of how her legacy may or may not be affected as an athlete, where on the biggest stage that only comes around 4-ish years, depending on whether there's a pandemic, she wasn't able to deliver. So
that's right. I am all in favor of her decision, but I'm also at least trying to be fair in my response to the response, because online it's as though, and I've seen it more from, at least in my feed, the amazing women that are accomplishing amazing things in this world are riding for Simone right now. They are absolutely right. Good for you, girl. You like that whole concept of act like a girl when it comes to the reaction. Either one or two things. We've got to apply that standard to all athletes and not make it gender specific, or she gonna take this heat, because mental health is very important. But how many athletes in other sports have dealt with mental health of the pressure of being in that moment? LeBron James has been a household name since he was 16 years old. 16. He was vilified by the entire basketball world when he made the amazing decision to come play for the Miami Heat. But the ESPN show called The Decision, produced by ESPN, and then that same ESPN use their platform to say, oh, it was just a selfish, who does it? Right? He has been in this conundrum of being the spotlight forever, and we do not give him a break. And I get it. Some have said that there's a difference to the sport because of the severity of potential injury. Yes, but there are other sports that have potential injury consequences if you're not out there fully focused, football being one of them. But yet we still expect Jerry Rice to go across the middle and catch the ball in the Super Bowl, despite maybe the pressure of doing so. And he could get his head taken off if he's not doing so focused. So all I'm saying is we gotta do one or two things. And yes, you can die if you flip the wrong way in gymnastics. But that didn't just start this week, y'all. She's been the greatest of all time with that same risk, a part of her sport, since she started the sport. The business implications of her not being the most decorated athlete ever in the Olympics because of this decision, I think, are going to be long lasting. But now I'm seeing the response to it. She might now be the face of mental health. Her and Naomi Osaka have now become the face. I celebrate their decision too. I know that mental health is very important too. But the backlash they get, I think they're uneven bars in terms of how we are looking at their decisions and analyzing them versus other superstars. Markelle Fultz forgot how to shoot a basketball. Ben Simmons has been the main topic of shooting woe memes since he forgot how to shoot a layup. He passed up a layup. Not because he hadn't shot layups before, because the pressure of the moment was too big.
Yeah.
Donovan McNabb throwing up in the Super Bowl huddle. We all said, he was soft. It's just a part of sports. And so to my sister who have been on the feed riding for Simone Biles, good for you. But I think her criticism isn't too far-fetched if I relate it, relatively speaking, if I relate it to other GOATs. And she is the GOAT. Hence, this is a story.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's the like I said, the conflict or the tension is that she's being celebrated for being injured, right? Like that in and of itself, we're not celebrating. I mean, the irony of this is in other sports and with other physical injuries, people question people's heart when if they perform with an injury, or if they don't perform because of some injury. Load management, right? Kyrie Irving got destroyed for not playing in regular season games. Kawhi Leonard, load management, protecting themselves, got destroyed for it. So it does seem like there's a little bit of a double standard, but also because mental health is this really ambiguous thing. We don't even know enough about it. But all that to say, like her decision, again, I still stick by, she should be respected with her decision, but celebrating somebody that's injured, it's really weird. But I do get the history of gymnastics, especially, I mean, there's sexual abuse cases like this. The culture of this organization has some really bad history, and it's silenced a lot of these young ladies, so that it should be celebrated that she took it upon herself to say, look, I'm not going to risk myself. Yeah. But to your point, you still got to put the context of the sports and the athlete, where why are you being celebrated for not being able to live up to the moment? And I think those two things are very different.
They are different. And look, we're going to agree to disagree, because I don't think there's one way here. I'm actually saying that there needs to be more parity. I just wish that we, again, could apply this same understanding to other athletes. And I'm as tough as anybody on the athletes, or else we wouldn't have a show. Right. Mm-hmm. But I didn't recognize how different it is. And people might say it, I see someone in the comments say it's apple to oranges comparing LeBron to Simone, only because it's a different sport.
See,
they both celebrate.
I think it's disrespectful to women athletes to not want to compare the people, to not try to put that, to say it's apples and oranges or whatever. I will say there is a bigger risk out there for gymnasts because of fall on your head and do whatever. I didn't think she was looking that crazy out there, but
how about boxing? When Roberto Duran said no mas, we called him a quitter.
Mm-hmm.
How about football? If somebody goes out there and they're not mentally prepared, you can get your head taken off. Mm-hmm. But guess what we would do if one of the quarterbacks was like, "Nah, I'm not really feeling that today."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the whole purpose of sport. That's why we watch other people do these things, right? Because they have these innate skills that to be elite, and they have this mental capacity and the physical attributes. And so it does challenge, like treating athletes like humans actually contradicts the entire premise of sports, right? Like you have to have a sickness.
Twist 3 times in the air before you hit the ground off their own.
Right.
You have to be addicted to achievement. You have to be the most alpha competitive person. You have to be a stone cold killer. You have to be focused. And that's what's celebrated. These sicknesses are celebrated. They don't work the same in other parts of life, but we're now seeing that athletes are human. But is that now going to challenge the premise of sports altogether? Because it's kill or be killed in sports, proverbially, right?
Unapologetically.
Right.
And stuff that she has done, the routines that she put together were based on the fact that she is better than everybody else. There's a different standard. They were based on that. And all I'm saying is this. Call it apples to oranges if you want. But if in the moment, the biggest moment of the biggest game, when all eyes were watching, and I keep using LeBron James because it's very hard to find a comparable. She's that darn good. If the pressure got to them such that they could not do what they normally do at the level that they do it, and they decided, LeBron in this case, I can't go forth, the legacy would be forever tainted. In an odd way, I think this has helped her legacy. And I say in an odd way, not saying it's wrong, but saying that it should be equally applied because they are humans. They do succumb to pressure. I see one of our live listeners is commenting about ADHD and being medicated. She's not alone. There are a lot of great athletes that are medicated for whatever reason. And they have an episode in a moment, and we don't analyze it as such. We analyze it like fans. They shrunk in the moment. They folded. They choked. These are the verbs we normally use. And so the fact that some, not me, because I actually, in an odd way, I feel more like I got to do better as a sports fan. I need to stop using those verbs because I really do empathize with her that she has to go through this. She has to be the center of attention for all the wrong reasons because this was her moment. But we got to have an equal application.
I mean, we even dog dudes who get hurt a lot and say they're injury prone. Man, dude,
you do. You call Anthony Davis Glass, Mr. Glass. I didn't want to say it, but you said it.
He's always twisting his ankle. It's like, man, dude, do something. Get right. So
the best ability is availability. How many times have you heard that on sports shows?
Yeah.
She's not available.
She's not available. So again, this is sports now. Let's not kill anybody, right? Let's not go out crazy, whatever, say some mean things to her, whatever. But just hold her accountable. To say, listen, this is it's going in your permanent file. This goes in your file.
Goes on your file. At least it's going to be a part of the story. It's not the only chapter, but it's a chapter in the story. Interesting times. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys in the Olympics, because it seems like all the other headlines have been put on the back burner because of this. And we understand why, because again, she's the GOAT.
That's the tragedy.
Exclamation point.
Well, hopefully it's not the end of the story, right? She can still come back. Maybe she'll come back like Paul Pierce in the wheelchair. And...
She had the doodle. You think she had the doodle? Is that what it was?
The BGs, the bubble guts.
Yeah, but I mean, it's valid, right? And it's on the Olympic stage with all these other double standards. Like, what was the one? There's the women's beach handball team that was now being fined.
Say that again. Hold on.
That's beach handball,
women's beach handball team. What was the double standard there?
Left-handed.
So they're being fined on a daily basis for wearing longer shorts. They're not wearing the bikini bottoms that are, I guess, requisite for the sport, and they're being penalized. Singer Pink tried to offer to pay the fine, but they're moving forward accepting the fine. But
very double standard. We're in a weird world, man. 2021, because I saw the NBA draft last night, and Jalen Green, who was in a sequence bell-bottom gray suit with a lace shirt underneath, is notorious for wearing short shorts. Things are going opposite, and now these young ladies wanted to wear longer shorts. But that is like, why is the uniform even discussed?
Yeah, like why the men don't wear thongs when they're out there playing volleyball? Women like to see that.
I don't know, man. You need to write your local congressman for that. I don't have an answer for that. Big
look, I was cool with all the uniform stuff till my baby girl started playing volleyball, and I feel like the shorts are way too short. I see too many little girls with their cheeks out, and I want to say, what's the motivation? You can't tell me. My daughter's always tugging at her shorts. You can't tell me that's more comfortable than I don't know why she can't wear some baggy like Fab Five shorts.
You got to live the double standard. You on both sides of the double standard, because something tells me in high school. I'm just gonna go out here on a limb. Something tells me in high school those same shorts, when you would go to the high school volleyball games, those same shorts were the reason not the only reason, but one of the reasons you went to those volleyball games. I'm going to speak for myself. In high school, you better believe. And now you don't want those shorts. So you live both sides of this double standard.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I think either way is the choice.
You're beyond denial, man. You already
everybody say, baby girl. You had a little baby girl ruins a lot of things for you, because you just got to start maturing and stuff. You got to start looking at things the other way.
Wait, that ruins things for you, that you have to mature?
It's easy to be a pig, right? It's easy to be a locker room guy. Maybe you can become president one day, if you're a pig. So anyway, at the end of the day, baby girl makes me look at things. She's making me grow as a person. I didn't think I had any growing left to do, but I did. But that's true. There's no reason in the world why you have to have these girls scantily clad in outfits to play the sport if they don't think that's comfortable, and you get fined for not doing it. I think volleyball used to have a certain amount of inch fabric under the your groin area, and if it was too high, it was an illegal outfit. Who made that rule?
And the only reason they said the groin area, because if they would have said the buttocks, it would have been so obvious that it was run by a whole bunch of pigs like you. I meant a whole bunch of pigs. My bad, man. You admitted to, you just said it. But men have done.
I used to be
pigs.
I used to be a pig, 4 pig. But who made that rule?
It's a stupid rule. Very stupid rule. But so my whole take on like the acting like a girl. That's been a knock in sports, in male sports forever. Like you're dribbling like a girl, you're throwing like a girl, you're doing X, Y, you act like, and now we see these amazing female athletes, these women doing amazing things in sports, and so amazing that maybe we should be saying we should start acting like a girl. Because Suni Lee stepped in there like a boss.
A boss.
Unfazed. Or maybe as fans, we should start acting like a girl. Because women are riding for Simone Biles.
What was
straight
the
up
girl that stepped into the team competition and she seen a girl come out with the high bar straps on and she just had to jump up and compete in the Olympics?
In the Olympics.
That wasn't Sunny though. That was the other.
That wasn't not
the
that
Hispanic,
was, and I'm mad I can't remember her name. That was her training partner. It was the other black Jimmy.
Why aren't we talking more about that? This girl was like, "Oh, I'm up."
Unfazed.
Okay. We had a concert and he just tossed the mic into the stands and said, "You rapping now?" Whoa, hold on. What's up? She's like, "Give me a couple seconds."
You would have peed on yourself.
She had
Big Flo. You would have peed on yourself.
That's a stretch. Huh? She been training and she's on the team. She's got the uniform.
But you're not ready to go.
She's not a fan. It's like trying to spit a freestyle, son.
Come out the stage.
You know what it's like? It's like the first
she's an Olympian
on the first play, and then the second series, the second string quarterback go down, and that dude who had the clipboard and the hat. Like,
you're not ready.
The game. I didn't come for this.
Yeah. I mean, it's happened in basketball a lot. Like you so used to being on the bench, you don't even wear your uniform under your warm-ups because you know you're not going to play. It happened to my guy. He played at Auburn. Shout out to my big bro, Otis Miles. His freshman year, he's supposed to redshirt. And they go through like 4 running backs in the first half. He hears on the loudspeaker, because that's before the red shirts. He's older than me. Before the red shirts would be on the sideline, he hears on the loudspeaker, Otis Miles, can you please report to the locker room? He goes out there and does work in the second half. But that's the equivalent, man. You got to be mentally strong to a whole nother level, man, to be ready right there on the spot. So shout out to her. I do think that the uniform thing is absolutely sexist. And I'm hoping that, because the Olympic Committee has already said that they're going to do something about it, but I'm hoping as more women evolve and succeed in athletics and then go on to be decision makers, we see a more fair and gender neutral approach to sports, because sport is sport is sport. However, I don't know if somebody gonna get upset, but women, beach, but how many sports they gonna have in the doggone Olympics, man? What? I don't know what qualifies as a sport. It's a whole bunch of questionable sports right now.
3-on-3 boxing, I think, is the next.
3-on-3
boxing.
It's going to be a cage match. It's going to be.
Is there boxing in this Olympics? I haven't seen any boxing.
There's boxing.
It hasn't come.
This is the most events in any Olympics ever.
Everybody get a trophy.
Spectators.
What do y'all think?
No,
about this 3-on-3?
No fans. All the events.
Everybody get a trophy.
What do y'all think about this 3-on-3 basketball?
I like it, man. I like it. I'm glad to see it's picking up steam. But the men I'm not that interested in, because it just feels like it's just watching pickup basketball. They're so big and yeah. But the women, I'll tell you what, man. Watching the women is pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. Actually,
elaborate.
Gold medal. They won a gold medal.
They won. Yeah, though. Team USA won the gold medal, and you know,
Jackie Young,
honestly,
Notre Dame. She was on Notre Dame.
Let him talk. What were you gonna say about it?
I think women's 3-on-3 is more exciting than the WNBA than 5-on-5. It's based on what I've watched in the Olympics, just because you get to see a lot more. I'm just saying. It's an exciting. You get to from what I could see with the 3-on-3, the women were able to display their skills, their skills in a way that you don't see in 5-on-5, because the court is long. So
before I let you finish, can I just say that I absolutely do not agree with that. That is Ellis. I do. These are not the views of the show. This is Ellis. Right. I love the WNBA, but I've said that on this show several times. I like watching it with my sons because it's fundamental basketball, and I like women's college basketball. You're telling me that 3-on-3 basketball for you is more exciting than 5-on-5 WNBA basketball?
It's fast. From what I've seen, it's a fast game. You get to see a lot of the skills close up. Like there's just a lot more kind of street ball elements to it that I think are exciting. And so, and especially if you think about it from a business standpoint, the WNBA has 12 teams, 12 women on each team. That's 144, or 12 athletes on each team, 144 players. So you could split that out. You could have more teams. The WNBA is losing money every year. So just from an innovation standpoint, watching it at first glance,
I thought they turned a profit.
No. $10 million operating loss every year. So if we're starting, because I know, 25 years in, and I know, we talked about $250 million. People talk about lowering the rims and doing all of this, but I think just changing the game in a really dramatic way, because it is exciting. It's nonstop.
I just want to make sure we're clear. You saying that the WNBA should switch to 3-on-3 league is what you're saying?
I think it should be a consideration. You can have more teams.
Or
Ice Cube, I don't know, man.
Ice Cube does run a successful 3-on-3 league.
I just want to make sure
growing.
Clear.
It's growing.
The big three, so you should call it the W Big Three. Is that what you call it?
Call it the big three. Look, just because watching it's more fast paced, it's more exciting. I think it's worth a consideration, just because I don't know if it's because when you watch the NBA, the court looks small, right? Like Giannis can take 3 steps from half court and dunk it. And so the game is fast, where with the women, it's a little bit slower. So this kind of changes that. It allows them to get a little bit busy, feels more like street ball. I think it's worth the consideration. You're just
not watching fast enough. That's what it is.
That sounds like some Pimp Chicago stuff there. Look, I like the game being slower because it shows it fundamental, but I do think that the average fan, because we have attention deficit disorder as a nation, likes the more exciting plays. So I suggested to a friend that plays in WNBA, consider bringing the goals down to 9.5, and you would have thought I slapped her right in her face and said something about her mama. She was offended. And I guess the whole uneven bars concept and the outlook when it comes to mental health, there's a version of it here too. Like physically, we know the 10-foot goal has been a challenge for women to dunk the basketball. And maybe you don't change the game because the fan is not sophisticated enough to appreciate it. But when you're talking about a business component, like how are you going to draw eyeballs in? Ellis, you say turn it to 3-on-3. I say lower the basket to 9.5. And all of those suggestions, both of those suggestions, I think are going to be offensive. And I don't think that they necessarily should be
make it a game of horse.
But why offensive? I guess why are they offensive?
I mean, because of the fact that women can do whatever men can do on a basketball court, shy of regularly dunk the basketball, and they've played just as long. They've committed to the craft just as long. So I get where women would be defensive and say, "Don't change our game." Just because the fan can appreciate it, but I'm just looking at it from a business perspective. It's sports business and entertainment here, and from the business perspective, say again.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying from a business perspective, you can't control what the consumer likes. You got to adjust to what the consumer likes as a business owner.
Right. They do that in every sport. You're right.
Right.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying. We're off the weeds now, but go ahead.
Yeah, but women's sports like tennis, right? There's tennis. Women's tennis and men's tennis has different rules, different, best of 3, best of 5. There's always adjustments. The 3-point line in the NBA has changed multiple times distance wise. There's shot clock changes. There's always revisions to the rules and the format of the game that are built to build audience, right? And so I'm just saying, from the perspective, it doesn't necessarily need to be the exact same game. And they need to find ways to make it exciting. Now, granted, all this is under the premise that they don't invest enough in growing the WNBA. It's hard to watch games. They just hired a CMO for the first time. So I understand that they're not promoting it fully, but just as a pure fan of the sport of basketball, watching women's 3-on-3, I was really excited about watching it. It was nonstop. I was getting to see them do a lot more, a lot more trickery and just be a little bit more like, schoolyard. And
look,
it was exciting to watch.
Your suggestion of going 3-on-3 for the WNBA aside, The fact that Jackie Young, shout out to the Notre Dame with her gold medal in the women's 3-on-3, but the fact that she got a call on the 17th, like, hey, we got a flight for you, just show up, and they were able to win the gold medal, says to me, it's just not it's not different enough from basketball for it to be a sport. I think the Olympics are going off the deep end. Everybody's getting a doggone medal. If you didn't make the men's Olympic basketball team, you don't get another bite at the apple and go 3-on-3, or the women's basketball team. Jackie Young didn't make, or her 3 teammates, there's 4 together, but they didn't make the women's USA basketball team. They got another bite of the apple. I think it's everybody, gets a trophy. But not putting that aside, let's deal with just the entertainment value of WNBA and the unsophisticated Neanderthal fan that just wants to see what they would call entertaining. I don't think the adjustment should be offensive to my sisters out there, because we talk a lot about who run the world. Girls, ladies are in the topics today, and it's 3 men talking about it. So maybe that's unfair in itself. I am the proud brother of 3 amazing sisters, so hopefully I just tried to bolster my credentials to have this conversation. But it shouldn't be offensive that we're trying to make the adjustments for the fans to watch the game more, because if you think about it, in other sports, there are adjustments. That's why in golf they play from the ladies' tees. Why? Because physically, it is known that the ladies' tees makes it a more competitive game from a scoring perspective. And so I just think the same thing would be true for lowering the baskets, for the entertainment value, for the fans. And we'll leave it there. I don't know if anybody has anything else to say, but we got to
based on the fact that the analogies you made, I think lowering the rims probably isn't the worst idea. I don't really think, there's still not going to be a bunch of people dunking. I really don't, that's not a necessity for me as far as to watch a sport. I do think they play the basketball game fundamentally right. 3-on-3 to me, it's more of a slap in the face, because you're just changing the sport completely and just saying, get to hell with basketball, throw it away. It's half court.
It's basketball. It's also basketball.
ETP, he slipped that one in. He's like, why don't you just make it horse? He slipped that one in.
Make it horse. Why don't we just play horse? Do a shoot around. I mean,
it ain't that bad. But
half court, you take half the court away, and 30% of the people get off the court. That's terrible, man.
I don't know, man.
60% of people picking.
I would love to just see the adjustments, because I love watching the game. But ladies, please don't take offense to it. I just think that when you're thinking of a business, you got to make it something that the consumer can digest and want to digest and absolutely have to see the game. I think these young ladies are phenomenal basketball players, and we don't give them credit for it. I love watching it, but I know I'm in rare air when it comes to that. And I think it's safe to say, with the level of play when it comes to me on the golf course, I need to shoot from the ladies' tees anyway, and I probably would be dunking on the 9.5 goal anyway. So when we say ladies' tees, it don't mean just the ladies play from those tees. Big Flo, you golf? Huh? So even from the ladies' tees,
with my friends.
Yeah, right. They would whoop most of us, and the same thing would be true if you lowered the basket. But all right, let's sprint, man, because we got to get on to some other uneven bars topics. And the one that I need to talk about is this press conference in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Aaron Rodgers showed up and showed out. He absolutely showed his bunkie, as we say in Florida. I mean, showed his, you know what? This man in a press conference said, free agents come here, not because it's a destination city. They come here to play with me. He then called out management and said, you don't treat people right when you cut them and part ways. And named all of these people. And he negated to mention Brett Favre. The irony in that is amazing. Now, Aaron Rodgers is celebrated as the best quarterback in a generation, despite the fact that you compare his Super Bowls versus Tom Brady's Super Bowls, it ain't much of a comparison. Several have said it. Several pundits on TV have said it. That is a statement that has been repeated by reputable sports studio analysts, that he is the best in a generation. And they blamed his lack of Super Bowl wins on management, on the win, on anything but Aaron Rodgers. When you talk about uneven bars, just imagine, and everything ain't about black and white. But in this case, imagine Cam Newton said, they ain't come here to play. They ain't coming to your city. They coming to play with me.
He's trying to get traded though. He just killed the whole city. Nobody want to be in Green Bay. I'm from
No,
Chicago.
he just killed management. He didn't kill the whole city. He killed management. And now management fires back and say, hey, we try to do a good job and we treat people right. And I heard the sports world saying that management should have just owned up to making the mistake. It shouldn't be tit for tat. People are really going to bat for Aaron Rodgers. And I think when it comes to quarterbacks especially, but just football players in general, that's an uneven bar. Where in this crazy universe does it make sense for a player like Aaron Rodgers in his first press conference after what has been a tumultuous offseason with free agency concerns, and is he coming back and is he going to hold out? Where in the world do we defend that type of behavior? White is right here, man. I don't understand how this is even. We would call Lamar Jackson the most selfish human on earth if he said, man, Baltimore ain't no party city. They come here to play with me. That is the most Willie Beeman statement I have heard from a quarterback since watching Any Given Sunday.
What do you think?
They come here to play with me, baby. Go ahead.
What do you think if my man in Seattle said that? Russell Wilson.
You wouldn't even think he would say that, man. Russell
the reason
Wilson
why I'm
is the
saying
deacon
that is
of the
because you're
church.
naming quarterbacks that can't hold a candle to Aaron Rodgers from a career standpoint. Russell Wilson's got a similar resume, right? Couple Super Bowl appearances on the Super Bowl.
Yep.
If Russell Wilson came out there and said that, what do you think would happen? Honestly,
he would be vilified, but I think he'd be vilified because we just not used to somebody being that. We look. For the last 2 days, I've heard like applause for this press conference because they said, well, we always ask for our athletes to be honest. He was honest. Why in one case is it honest and in another case it's selfish?
Yeah, I think he wants to be vilified because he wants to get up out of there. You don't say that type of stuff.
Right. Yeah, he's done.
He's trying to get through the trade.
Yeah, he's just trying to get through the next year. He's like, I'll be here, but you're going to know exactly the situation. I think, Tom Brady's getting a little bit loose. He's unbuttoning his shirt and, being a little bit cocky these days where he shut up for 20 years. I think maybe Aaron Rodgers is taking a page out of that book when they were playing golf together. So I don't know. It's but it's ironic, right? You meant what's that?
He's like, Tom Brady's like, hey, just try telling them they ain't shit. See what happens.
Right. Right, this will work. This is gonna go great.
I don't think Russell Wilson would have made it out of the press conference room without getting arrested, accosted, or something. They would not have stood there and just listened to this man. Right in my. They don't come here for this city. They come here to play with me.
Yeah, I think it's
and this is a great question.
Green Bay. Like I think from your point, if like the fans of Green Bay, if that was a black star, that might be a different. I don't know about the media, but the fans eat him alive.
How many white quarterbacks could say that?
They have celebrated him for being honest. We're going to move on, but before I do, I see, and this is a great question because I think this is an even better comparison because we're saying Patrick Mahomes from a talent standpoint is a once-in-a-generation talent. My man Parnell, what's up, Parnell? We miss you, man. That's a part of our crew. Parnell, miss you, baby. Parnell asked in the comments because he's one of our live audience members today. He says, would Mahomes say what Rodgers said in that press conference? And I'm going to add what would happen. They both have won Super Bowl. They both were considered once-in-a-generation type talent. And guess what? They both live in cities, play for cities that aren't necessarily thought of as party destinations.
Yeah.
But Patrick Mahomes would be vilified right now if he made that exact same statement. And Aaron Rodgers, man, the sense of entitlement and privilege that you must be drunk with in order to go down all these lists of players and not mention Brett Favre. You are the beneficiary of them mistreating a veteran on the way out, bruh.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the consistency is funny, right? Because he's calling it out. he's calling it out, but he wouldn't his career wouldn't have started. His career wouldn't have started when it did if they had treated Brett Favre with respect.
His timeline was just perfect not to say Brett Favre. He said Julius Peppers, Charles Wood, all these other Hall of Famers, but he didn't say Brett Favre.
Right.
I ain't celebrating you for being honest.
How many QBs could get away with that?
None that look like you and me.
I'm saying how many white QBs could say that?
2.
I don't think that many white QB. I think that the Aaron Rodgers must have
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers,
and Drew Brees before he retired. You can't say that. You can't think of any other quarterbacks in the NFL, white, black, Hispanic, whatever color we are now. They could say that. So really, it transcends race.
Uneven bars. Because for you to walk in there and say that in that press conference, and a day later, everyone's saying, well, we asked for our stars to be honest. At least he was honest.
They love him, man. They love him. He's in Wisconsin.
Look, Donald Trump was honest too when he said he grabbed women by the you-know-what because he's a celebrity. We ain't celebrate him for being honest.
Hey, we voted him as president.
Some of us did. Touche.
We
in this together now.
Look, we for uneven bars, we got to deal with Kyrie Irving because this week, Kyrie blasted the newest release of his shoe. Kyrie Irving and Nike have had a partnership for a while, and we didn't celebrate him for being honest. They called him a diva. People said he's going to mess up the contract, concern over whether or not Nike's going to walk away from him. You such a diva, Kyrie. Hey, Kyrie, why don't you just do that in public, in private settings as opposed to blasting him publicly? All week, that's what we've heard. Just so happens in the same week, he's helping build a solar water center in Pakistan. We focus on his divaness, I don't know how you say that, and his philanthropy gets ignored, overlooked. And I think just from a coverage standpoint, there's some uneven bars there. We talked about, the uneven bars when it came to, I'll bring it up here. I don't know if I said it before, but Naomi Osaka was celebrated for choosing mental health over her interaction with the media. How is that different than what Kyrie said? We drug him through the doggone mud when he said he didn't want to interact with the media personalities because of his mental health.
Yeah.
And I just think there's uneven bars. We see it time and time again. Kyrie Irving, who, look, he's from Jersey. And so maybe I'm biased. But it seems as though that and my man Scott Bibb, what's up, Scott Bibb? Another loyal listener and supporter of the show. Appreciate you, brother. He says Kyrie is a diva, though. But ain't all of them divas? How is Naomi Osaka saying she don't want to interact with the media because of her mental health any less diva than Kyrie saying the same thing? How is this week all about Kyrie Irving expressing how he felt? Because, look, it ain't the same anymore. You can't just put a signature shoe out there and expect the person on that shoe not to say anything. He has the power of the public. He can get right to the public by just one Instagram post. So things have changed. The leverage has changed. It's not what it used to be. But why is that the focus and not him building a solar water center in Pakistan? It just seems odd to me. I don't know if either one of you wanted to weigh in before we got on to the next topic, but I had to bring up Kyrie Irving.
I just want to know why his contract or just why Nike isn't including him or taking input from the person on the signature shoe. It's one of the best-selling basketball shoes that Nike makes. It's the most worn by the athletes. This one already is going into the trash. But why weren't those conversations had before he has to publicly condemn basically what's getting him a portion of that money to go build water, clean water facilities, and he's challenging it. It's just surprising that there's always these stories that come out about Nike that kind of leak out, and it's just weird that he wouldn't have seen, some kid that leaked the shoe on social media saw the shoe before Kyrie Irving saw his own shoe. There's something strange about that.
I think
Kyrie, man, as a Jersey resident, I got your back, bro. If ain't nobody else got your back, I got your back, bro. I'll give you last word before we move on quickly.
I think, my man, it's like defamation of character, man. Did you see how much smoke Steph Curry took when he came out with them shoes? Remember that one version of his shoe was just horrible, and they were all over him, the memes and all the mean words people say. They started attacking. I think he just tried to get ahead of it, man. I don't like these shoes either. Don't buy them. So there come out a new shoe. I told you not to put the shoe out. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
The shoes suck. I ain't nobody gonna buy them.
Look, man, if you close your eyes and you just, take some of them blanks out, right, and just switch the names. Aaron Rodgers got celebrated in his interview for telling the truth. All right, cool. Let me just erase some of those blanks. Kyrie Irving got vilified for telling the truth. Y'all didn't include me in the creative process. I think the shoe was whack, and he got vilified. And I just think
100% Aaron Rodgers could do that and not get in trouble. 100%.
Not get in trouble at all. We would celebrate him for telling the truth. So I just think it's uneven bars. We got to talk about King Richard, man. The movie that's coming out that's about Richard Williams, who is, the I would call the first family of tennis. He's the father of the first family of tennis. Venus and Serena's father, Richard Williams. Will Smith is playing Richard Williams. That's how you know you made it, boy. When Will Smith is playing you. I love the fact that they're going to do this show. I love the fact that it's going to capture what was also uneven bars. Venus and Serena being great is not like most celebrated families of tennis because they made it from Compton, California. And I love that this is coming out. The business, that there's a real business element to what he did in developing two of the best players of all time. Shout out to King Richard as a movie. Shout out to Richard Williams as a dad. Shout out to Will Smith for playing it. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer or not, but I'm really looking forward to it. Maybe we'll do a movie night. It's going to be a Ball Hog Sports Talk sponsored movie night. Big Flo going to pay for it. So just make sure you reach out to Big Flo and he'll get you one of those movie passes. I'm looking forward to seeing this one, y'all. What about y'all?
Did the Williams family have influence on the show, on the movie? Do we know that?
I don't know, but I would say because Will Smith is involved, I would think so. Because he doesn't need to take anything that is not endorsed by the people being represented. At this point in his career, he has opportunities. So I would think so, but I don't know.
I only want to see it if they're involved in it. If they're not involved in it, I'm not interested in seeing somebody's version of their truth because that gets to be messy. Very fair.
How about you, ETP Ellis, the producer? You got last word.
It's a great story that needs to be told, so I'm excited to see it. And I'm pretty sure that I can't imagine they made this film without the family being, supportive of it.
Right,
but I just think it's great to tell that behind the scenes story. Venus and Serena, we've known forever. Richard has been a little bit more behind the scenes. Obviously, there's that classic interview outtake when he checks the interviewer for asking too many probing questions to Venus. So to be able to have this, I know it'll be a little bit romanticized, but to see some of that behind the scenes, to see how two greats were actually developed and by their father, I think it's going to be a really good story.
I think it requires greatness at times, requires you to be a little crazy. Uneven bars. You got to be a little unsettling to most, because if you're doing what everybody else is doing, then chances are you're not going to have extraordinary outcomes. And the same is true in the entertainment space. Kanye West now is reportedly sleeping in the stadium that he did his listening party in Atlanta. I think that's Mercedes Stadium, where the Falcons go and lose. Sorry, had to. Sleeping in the stadium until his album is finished. Does being great, is there a correlation? There's got to be some correlation to genius level, whatever. In this case, genius level type musician.
And being
uneven, right? They showed a picture of his sleeping quarters.
Bars just ain't parallel.
There's some uneven there, right? I'm looking forward to the album, man. And when he goes in the complete uneven mode, that's a better way to say it than the other word. You call somebody crazy now, boy, you in trouble. So I'm looking forward to it because he is in complete uneven mode. If you sleeping on a cot with those he's a billionaire sleeping on a cot with two pair of shoes. It looked like he had maybe two pair of pants, a shirt, and I ain't see no toothbrush, but maybe the picture didn't catch it. You got to be kind of uneven to do that. This going to be a classic. What y'all think, man?
Yeah.
Quick entertainment break before we move on to the last topic in this.
Taking it back to the roots. Sleeping in a jail cell, trying to get that original music. But yeah, what they're saying is it's $1 million a day. So genius or not, that's too much money to spend to stay.
Is that what it came out to
anywhere.
$1 million a day?
That's what the rumor is. I can't imagine.
That's a different level flex than making it rain at the shake giant. $1 million a day just to sleep on the couch.
Drake had
That's
a little
throwing
somebody
money away.
with him. At least Drake had a little female with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That
was the competition. He's like, "Oh, you want to go to dinner at the stadium?
I live
move
here.
in.
I live here."
Ever since he talked about his pool was bigger.
Right. How dare you mess with my pool? I put a lot of work into that pool. But yeah, man, look, hopefully Kanye and all his unevenness produces because the expectation is high. We talked about the expectations being high for Simone Biles and other greats. You've been mentioned in those conversations of the greatest of all time, Kanye. Come with it, Mr. Uneven. Come with it. I gotta end here because in the penultimate topic we talked about Mr. Richard Williams. I gotta end here because Richard Williams really is just the precursor, the predecessor to LeVar Ball. I gotta get my weekly LaMelo Ball story in because LaMelo, man, you know you a boss when you can get your brother Jello. LiAngelo is the legal name. They're gonna be playing together, man. LiAngelo got signed, and I think LaMelo had a lot to do with it. That's a big flex when your little brother can get you signed. He is talented, but something tells me that the fact that his last name is Ball has something to do with it. Do you think he makes it? LiAngelo gonna make it this time? No, the Pistons cut him. Does he have a better shot playing with LaMelo? Because I'm sure LaMelo gonna be like, "Yo, man, I want to play with my brother."
He's gonna get the ball. He's gonna feed him, right? So he's gonna get chances, but I don't think he's gonna make it.
You don't think he got a shot?
I don't know. There's a lot of Antetokounmpos in the league. I think we need to give. Let's get
say that 5 times. Say that 5 times fast. Forget Candy, man. I bet you can't say it. He just tried to flex on us because he know we can't say it. A big flow. Say it again. Say it again.
LiAngelo Ball.
Yeah.
next All-Star. Nah, man. Maybe Jordan might do LaMelo a favor. We'll see. Keep him on the squad. Keep him happy. Obviously, it's good to the idea that you can play in the NBA with your brother. That's a pretty special
thing. What they
thing.
pick up last night? They picked up a shooter last night, didn't they?
I was only looking. No, I didn't look at who they drafted. Man, the NBA draft is interesting place because so many movements after the draft. Let's go lightning round, man, because there was another big story yesterday. You had because I want to. For those of you who are listening, for those of you who are watching, for those of you on the podcast, a lot goes into what we do discuss, but sometimes some things don't get discussed. One of them is, look, man, you got Russell Westbrook signing with the Lakers. That should be a big story because I know Kevin Durant took a lot of heat when he went and played for Golden State, and a lot of that heat came directly from Russell Westbrook, but because winning a ring has become so instrumental in the legacy conversation and whether or not you get the first ballot Hall of Fame designation. I think he's chasing a ring here. Yes or no, counselor? Do you think it works? ETP, I'll start with you. Russell Westbrook being the third of the big three, does it work?
It'll work if the NBA goes to 3-on-3 basketball because they just gave up their entire bench to pay Russell Westbrook $40 million. 3-on-3 basketball.
What about a game of horse?
Even then, that means you gotta shoot jump shots, man. Russell Westbrook still his thing is being.
You can shoot them when they don't count.
You should. What do you think?
3, baby.
Big Flow Show. Does it work? Yes or no? Russell Westbrook is the third of the big three.
Russell Westbrook accepts his role. I know they're going to get Buddy Hield, and I don't know if the trade was turned on the other side or if they chose Westbrook or whatever. But I think if he accepts his role, I think he'll be fine. It depends on that. They'll find somebody else. I don't know if they drafted anybody last night, but they'll find somebody else that could kind of put the pieces. But these super teams, you got 3 horses at the top. The other 2 are always kind of like, what happens. And then with the load management, Mr. Glass getting hurt all the time, I think we're in a situation that's tough. But they're going to have great success in the regular season for sure. We'll see what happens in playoffs.
And just like correction, the man's last name is Hield. You got ETP, Ellis, the producer over there, pronouncing what's the last name again? Say it again. Antetokounmpo.
Antetokounmpo.
Oh, so that you
Antetokounmpo.
clowning me. I thought you were
Yeah, and you
clowning
can't even say healed. It's Buddy Healed,
What
man.
did I
They
say?
signed Buddy Healed. You said Heiled. I don't know what you said. It's Healed,
How,
man. Yeah, man. Don't mess up that man's name.
His mama
ETP,
called
you
him
take
Heil.
over from
I'ma
here,
call him
man,
Heil.
because a lot of stuff that didn't make in, let's just get at least
Yeah.
mention before we get out of here for the day. What do you got?
Quick mention. So, speaking of the draft, NBA draft, Commissioner Adam Silver did a really nice gesture and actually drafted Terrence Clark from Kentucky, who died in a car crash earlier this year. So family was there to go through the presentation. Just nice recognition for a tragic ending to a young man's life that had so much promise.
Absolutely.
And then so still in the NBA, Barack Obama is now an investor in the NBA, but in NBA Africa as a strategic partner. So helping to grow the game of basketball out in Africa, as well as participate in creating those partnerships between him, his foundation, and the league. So hopefully a lot of good stuff to come from that.
Barack. Good job, Mr. Obama,
Yeah.
President Obama.
Cool. And then moving to China. So China has historically, ever since they lost to Forrest Gump, have been controlling Chinese table tennis. But this year they lost to Japan and got the silver medal. And as a result, the Chinese table tennis player actually had to apologize to her country for letting them down because of the expectations that were so high in China in that sport.
China don't play. They might do something to her.
She was crying because she got a silver. Everybody else taking pictures, biting a silver, including our
They give
USA
you big money
gymnastics team.
if you win a gold in China. They give you big money, but I mean, they killed a dude who like poisoned the food or whatever. We had bad food coming out of there, had lead or something in the food. They killed him in like a day. They don't mess around over there, man.
They ain't messing around there. All right, go ahead, ETP. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, bro.
No, that's totally fine. So Texas high school player is considering early entry into college at Ohio State because the name, image, and likeness policies in Texas prevent high school kids from profiting off their name, image, and likeness as a state law. And so it's a question of, is this going to start to become the norm? And is it contaminating the path to professionalism, I guess, where you got high school kids that are making business decisions at this point, and different states have different laws.
That's what happens in NCAA when you drop the ball on taking leadership role and getting this thing right. But I digress. Go ahead, ETP.
Yeah. And then the last, we'll just do, unfortunately, when you get all different cultures of the world together, you can kind of break some eggs and things can get a little ignorant. So just wanted to call out some of the faux pas that happened around the world. So an Italian tennis player who was complaining about the heat because it's been pretty hot in Tokyo during the Olympics actually called himself in frustration a gay slur and used some inappropriate language and was caught on a mic and apologized and said it was because of the heat that he said some inappropriate language
about himself. Boy, that's
about himself.
Another example of the mental anguish that the Olympics as an environment and as a platform puts you on. The man talking to himself, he dissing himself on a hot mic.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yep. And then you got a Greek Olympic commentator. The table tennis competition was happening. A South Korean player was playing a Greek player, and the Greek Olympic commentator made an ignorant statement about South Korean. It's surprising that he can even see the ball based on the shape of his eyes, and was essentially fired as a result. In that same vein, a German cycling coach, when his team was trailing behind some North African and Middle Eastern cyclists, basically told them to go catch the camel drivers, and translated in from German. So a lot of ignorance and a lot of things happening. Like I said, the Olympics brings all cultures together. They don't always get along.
Hey, what we think sometimes is that racism and other isms only exist on the other side of town. Nah, man. Ignorant people are throughout the world, man. So yes, they do get a gold medal in ignorance. What else you got for us, man? Is that it?
That's the end of the line.
End of the line, man. All the stuff that didn't make it in. And we'll transition now as I take us on home, man. The final stretch. Today's episode, we entitled Uneven Bars. And while we dealt with what could be a controversial topic, with Simone Biles and her decision and her mental health, we try to deal with it from a parody standpoint, how fans respond, how we analyze our GOATs. So if you didn't hear that part, make sure you take a listen. Like we ask you every week, please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe in the podcast world. This has been another week, a rough, rugged, and raw as the Ball Hog Sports Talk talks about sports, business, and entertainment, because that's where the three of them things collide. I am happily and luckily your host, P. Brown, ESQ, aka the Ball Hog, aka the Mouth of the South, aka Mr. Excessive Celebration. I was here today with the crew, the Big Flow Show, and my man ETP Ellis, the producer. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag a foe, and make sure you subscribe. We is out. See you next week.